Just as a fraction such as 2/4 is considered to be not simplified, and we would reduce it to simplest form of 1/2, often fractions with roots in the denominator are considered to be not simplified. And we use a process called rationalizing the denominator in order to get rid of the root that is on the bottom part. For example, suppose we have 5 over the square root of 2. In order to turn the bottom part into a square root that we can simplify, we need to multiply the top and bottom by a square root. Now, to turn 2 into something that we can simplify the square root of, you can think, what can we multiply times 2 to get a perfect square? And the easiest way to get a perfect square is to multiply something by itself. So when you have a square root of 2 you want to get rid of, we'll multiply by the square root of 2 on the top and the bottom. And here it's going to help to remember something we've talked about, that when you multiply a square root by itself, you'll just end up with what's under the root. The square root of 2 times the square root of 2 would be the square root of 4, which is 2. And on the top, 5 times the square root of 2, we would just have 5 square root of 2. We have a square root in the numerator, but we don't have one in the denominator anymore. So this is what we're looking for. We're looking to get the square root out of the denominator. Let's look at our next problem, 8x over the square root of 10x. Whatever root you have on the bottom of the fraction, that's the one you want to get rid of. That's what you multiply by the top and bottom of each fraction. Remember, whatever we multiply by the bottom, we have to multiply the same thing by the top to keep the value of the fraction the same. In this case, in the numerator, we would have 8x square root of 10x. In the denominator, the square root of 10x times the square root of 10x is 10x. Remember, when you multiply a root by itself, you just end up with what was under the root. Now, unlike our previous problem, here we've got some things we can do to simplify this fraction by reducing it. We notice there's an x in the top and bottom of the fraction now. They cancel each other out completely. And then 8/10, you can divide both the 8 and the 10 by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So our final result would be 4 square root of 10x over 5. If you'd like to try the next two problems on your own, pause the video now and resume when you're ready to see the solution. For 3 over square root of 7x, we want to get rid of the square root of 7x in the denominator. We multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 7x. In the numerator, this leaves us with 3 square root of 7x. In the denominator, the square root of 7x times the square root of 7x is 7x. And in this case, there's nothing we can do to simplify it, so that would be our answer. For 10 over the square root of 5, the square root of 5 is what we want to get rid of, so that's what we multiply by the top and bottom of the fraction. In the numerator, we have 10 square root of 5. In the denominator, the square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is 5. In this case, the top is divisible by the bottom. So we divide 10 by 5, and our final answer for this one would be 2 square root of 5.